Welcome to Income Geek, where we help micro and small businesses to grow an online business. So if you're new here, consider subscribing for more content like this. In this tutorial, we'll explore and review Envato Elements, which is a subscription-based service for stock digital assets, which I personally use, and I'll try to suggest when it can be suitable over other alternatives. So let's get to this video. So I'm here on the Envato Elements homepage, and let's start by saying that the main strength of this service is the extent of its assets categories that, as you can see, span from graphics to music and videos to full web and WordPress templates. And let me spoiler that my opinion is generally positive, also considering the pricing point, which we'll talk about later. Of course, otherwise I wouldn't have subscribed myself, but watch the video till the end, as there are also some cons and some tips that can give you a more complete view on this service. Let me also just clarify the difference between Envato Elements and the Envato Market, in case you happen to know both services. Envato Market is the on-demand asset marketplace where you purchase and pay single items, whereas Envato Elements is a subscription-based service where you pay a fixed monthly or yearly fee and you get unlimited downloads. And just bear in mind that the assets that you can find on the two marketplaces are in general different, even if there can be some common items between the two. With that being said, now let's see which kind of items you can find on Envato Elements. And we'll briefly touch all these menu items in the order you're seeing them. So the stock video is made of stock footage that is up to 8K resolution, and you can download it in MP4 format. Next, you have video templates that are ready-made templates for many video production applications, including After Effects, Premiere Pro, Final Cut, etc. Music and sound effects are sections where you can download music tracks, jingles, and sound effects, and I have a little tip on these sections later on in the video. The graphic templates section includes templates for UI design, UX design, print design, as well as logos. Just bear in mind that logos can be used as company logos if you want, but only as long as you don't need to trademark them, as you don't get the exclusive rights that you would need to make them part of your trademark. Next up, the graphics section includes base graphic assets like illustrations, icons, backgrounds, etc. Presentation templates include, of course, PowerPoint templates as well as models for Apple's Keynote and Google Slides. The photos section with the stock photography has been recently enriched by including the assets from the 2020 service that is now part of this catalog. Next, we have fonts, add-ons like brushes, etc. And very important, the web templates section that includes pre-made websites, landing pages, email templates, and these are mostly HTML and CSS templates. And under the More menu item, you see we have the CMS templates, and there are templates for basically any of the most common CMS platforms, including, for example, Shopify. So you get more than 280 Shopify themes. And that's really interesting if you work with e-commerce or if you own an e-commerce. And you have the WordPress category, for which Envato is a market leader with its Theme Forest brand on their Envato marketplace. And here you get currently nearly 1,500 WordPress themes included in your subscription. So that's a relevant part of their catalog as well. Next, you have some 3D files, and lastly, you have also tutorials. That is, you have access to all the tutorials and video courses of the Envato Tuts Plus platform, so you also have a catalog of learning resources. So, tons of categories, and let's see how much does this subscription service cost. So let's switch to the pricing page. And we can see that there is a monthly plan that is currently priced at 29 euros per month, but the yearly plan costs half the money, even if you have to pay the whole period in advance, which is currently 174 euros per year. And they both include a 7 days trial and do not include VAT if it's applicable for you. And I obviously purchased the yearly plan that is the cheapest in the long run if you need the service for a longest period. And I honestly think that this is a very competitive pricing point, as you can easily end up spending more by purchasing on demand even a single asset on other websites and even on Envato's own on-demand marketplace, where, for instance, WordPress themes can cost up to $59 or even more per item. Let's now talk about license terms for a moment. Of course, I won't get into details. For instance, if you plan to use music, you should definitely read the limitations in the relevant section of the license policy. But these are the most important aspects I want to point out here. First of all, you can use any asset as many times as you want, but you need to register each single usage. That is, you need to assign each resource to a specific project. And you're declaring that you'll use that resource on that project. This is just fine if you are downloading, for instance, a photo or a WordPress theme that you plan to use on one project, but can become really annoying if you want to use a sound effect for your YouTube logo intro for all of your videos, as you should register that resource for any video you publish, basically. And this is maybe the main negative point I found for this service. So in some cases, honestly, I preferred to get such kind of items which I needed for repeated usage elsewhere and not here. The license you get, though, is future-proof, which means that if you unsubscribe, you can keep using the assets you have already downloaded for the projects that you have already associated with them, while of course you can't use them on new projects that you hadn't previously registered. And another limitation, of course, is that in general you can't resell the assets and you must use them either in combination with other assets or, by the way, as part of a more complex final product in which you add some kind of value with your work or your creativity. For instance, you can't sell merchandising where you just print an Envato Elements asset on a t-shirt, but you can if your asset is just a part of a more complex artwork. And similarly, an agency can't just resell a WordPress theme to its customers, but they can sell an up-and-running full-fledged website that is powered by that theme, because that way they are adding value with their service. And now let me briefly summarize the pros and cons I see for this Envato Elements service. I think that the pros are already quite clear. It is a single subscription with unlimited downloads, and it has so many different categories of assets that it can alone serve all the creative assets needs of a small business or solo entrepreneur, and also in very different industries like web design, content creation, graphic design, video production, etc. And lastly, it has a good quality on average. But now let me spend a few more words on the cons instead. I have already mentioned how annoying it can be, the need for you to register each usage of your assets, especially in cases when you need to use them for your main business identity, and so you need them across many of your products. I would also mention that Envato Elements doesn't include customer reviews, and that could have saved me some time in the past. For instance, I found some really low quality Shopify themes, and I could find out that just by actually downloading and installing them, so that was quite disappointing. Finally, as anything that tries to do everything, it can't be the best for each single asset category. So in other words, if you just need music, for example, you might find some other service that is focused just on that and that is superior. And talking about music, let me show you some caveats I found out by using assets in that category for some YouTube videos of mine. So I'm now navigating with my registered account, and if you scroll down, you can see a filter for excluding assets that are registered to a public rights organization. So what does this mean? Well, you should always mark this checkbox when searching for music, because in case you use PRO contents, you should then take care of paying the PRO royalties for that content, that of course are not included in your Envato Elements subscription. So by checking this box, you are basically excluding contents for which you have to pay some additional royalties to some public rights organization. So take this into account. But there is more. If you want to use music for YouTube videos, so if I, for instance, open this item, you have to double check that this music track has not been registered for YouTube Content ID. Otherwise, YouTube will detect it and it will prevent you to monetize that video. So you will be able to upload your video, but you won't be able to monetize it, because the rights owner for this track has registered this track for YouTube Content ID. So if I go back and try to open another track, in this case you can see here there is no YouTube Content ID registration. And that's the kind of content you should search for if you are going to use that for YouTube videos that you plan to monetize. But I want to warn you that even if you take care of this, I did find sometimes a song that was registered for the YouTube Content ID without this being mentioned here. So this was obviously misleading, and this is really a negative point for the services, because I found out this only after uploading the YouTube video, and so I basically needed to remove it, modify it with another track, and upload it again. So bear this in mind. Now I want to briefly show you how asset download and usage actually works in Envato Elements. For videos, music, and similar stuff, you clearly get a simple MP4 or MP3 file that is ready to be imported in your favorite editing app, such as Premiere Pro. In some cases, you instead get templates that are made specifically for an application, like in the video templates category, so you can filter for just After Effects templates, and so clearly you will get an After Effects file that you can then edit and customize in that application. While when you download web or CMS templates, including WordPress ones, you get a zip file that you either need to unzip or upload directly on your platform, as it happens for WordPress. For now, I want to make an example instead with a graphics template. Let's say I want to search for YouTube thumbnail for my videos. And let's say I want to download this resource. So I'm just going to click on this. I'll see the preview and I can click on download. And as you can see, it prompts me to ask what I'll be using this resource for. So I have to either select an existing project here or create a new one as I'm doing here. So I'm going to say an example project and I'll click then on add and download. And just note that you also have a download without a license link that allows you to download this asset without a license, and so without specifying any project, but that wouldn't allow you to use that on a real world project, of course. In this case, I will click on add and download. And so this will assign this resource to that new project I have created, and it will also download. And if I open the zip file content, you can see it contains 6 PSD files that compose this template, and a README file that can be in a PDF or TXT format usually, that contains licensing information and also relevant information on which fonts have been used for this asset. And so you usually should click on these links and go on and install on your system all the fonts that are needed for this asset. So I'm going to click on download family. I'll open the font and go on and install all these fonts. In this case, so for instance, this basic variant, I just double click on the TTF file and click on install fonts, and it has been installed. And I would do the same for the other variants if I need them. I'd also do the same for the other font, of course. And afterwards you can open this. In this case, this is a Photoshop file and I have not Photoshop installed on my system. But usually for graphic resources, just know that you will get either a PSD, like in this case, or a EPS or an AI file format that can be usually opened either with Adobe Photoshop, like in this case, or with Illustrator, and of course with their open source equivalents like GIMP, Inkscape, etc. In some cases you get 2 file formats of the same resource, and you can use the one that you prefer. And I advise you that you always keep your downloaded files well organized in your system, along with their respective license specifications. And if you ever needed to reuse a resource, just head over to your My Downloads section, find the asset, and just click on Add a License. And it will allow you to specify a new project where you want to use the asset. So I hope this review of Envato Elements was useful for you. To summarize, I would say that it is a really good deal for many solopreneurs, professionals and companies of any size who can benefit from such a wide catalog. Some example of good fits for this service could be content creators, digital agencies, e-commerce managers, developers, and these are just some examples. But in general, this is good for anyone who needs and can benefit from having a variety of stock assets in many different asset categories. And so who is this not for? Maybe only those whose work is really so specialized that they just need one kind of asset only, like music producers, illustrators, and similar. So in this case, they could prefer specialized services that can provide more quality and quantity on that specific category. So that's it for this video. If you want to support my work on this channel, consider using my affiliate Envato Elements link in description if you do decide to subscribe to this service. And if you're into digital business, consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. See you next time.